I'm just going to make a short video to introduce my video channel called David Turner Does Educational Research. First of all, let me introduce myself. I am David Turner, and I normally put an A in there, A for Andrew, to distinguish myself from all the other David Turners who are busy out there doing good things. And I am Professor Emeritus. I used to have a friend and former colleague who translated that as a professor without merit. That's not what it means. It means I've retired. In 2012, I retired from the University of South Wales in the United Kingdom, and a few months ago, I retired again from the Institute for International and Comparative Education at Beijing Normal University in China. So I'm well and truly retired, and I'm going to devote some time to this YouTube channel. I'll tell you about my aims in a minute. But before I do that, I have to express some thanks for this technology that I'm using. I've been inspired by Jeffrey Kaplan. Jeffrey Kaplan is a professor of philosophy at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, and he uses this technology. He's put a lot of his undergraduate lectures on YouTube, and I recommend them to you because he's interesting, he's stimulating, and he also has some excellent videos on how to study skills, how to make the most of your time as a student. So apart from the technology that I'm borrowing from him, I also like the content that he presents, but the content I want to present is slightly different. Professor Kaplan, as I said, is a professor of philosophy. His main interest is in philosophy of ethics and in the philosophy of law or jurisprudence. And that's not a central concern of mine. I have an interest in philosophy, but I think that we all should have an interest in philosophy. I think there is a reason why the highest degree awarded in any field is a doctorate of philosophy. It's because if you're going to do postgraduate research, you have to pay attention to the philosophy of your area of interest. You need to understand how you think the world works, what is in the world, what is the world made up of, what a philosopher would call ontology. You have to have an interest in how we learn about the world, how we develop knowledge, what a philosopher would call epistemology. When I say that everybody should have an interest in philosophy, I don't mean that you should sprinkle words like ontology, epistemology, phenomenology liberally through your chapter on methodology in the vague hope that nobody else understands what they mean. I mean, the assumptions that we make when we start doing research shape and limit what we can study, and so you need to pay attention to the underlying philosophy of your field when you are developing research. So we have an interest in philosophy, we all have an interest in philosophy, and we all should have an interest in philosophy, but it's not central to my purpose. I'm an educator or an educationist. The content that I'm interested in is slightly different from the content that interests Professor Kaplan. I'm interested in education as the focus of my attention. And in this video channel, I intend to do three things. I intend to present some techniques that postgraduate researchers need to be able to do in order to conduct educational research. I mean things like writing a book review, reviewing the literature, developing a research question, steps that every postgraduate student worries about and steps that every researcher has to go through. I say techniques rather than methods because I think that the word method has become rather problematic for reasons that I'll come back to later in this series of videos. My second aim is to present my ideas of what makes good research and, by implication, what makes bad research. I'm going to be expressing my personal views. I'm not expecting you to agree with them automatically. I'm expecting you to think about them and to form your own idea, form your own opinions as to what makes good research and what makes bad research. But I'm going to be a little bit contentious and say that much of what I read, much of what passes as educational research at the moment, I would say as much as 90% of what is published as educational research, I consider to be a waste of time, because I consider that the authors have not paid sufficient attention to the underlying philosophy. And I think that's where I want to steer your attention, is to how we build methods and techniques that are appropriate to the philosophy of understanding educational research. And my third aim for this channel, and it's a longer term aim, is to bring people together, people with similar questions about educational research, similar ideas, not the same ideas, but people who want to discuss and are interested in the ideas that I'm putting forward on this channel, bring them together either online or in person to discuss and to advocate for better education based on better educational research. I hope that in doing this, some of you will become interested in organisations that I have long been associated with and have put time and effort into promoting, because I think it's important to join the debates about what makes good research, join the debates about what makes good education, and contribute to making education a little bit better for everybody. And that, to my way of thinking, involves bringing questions, not just taking solutions off the shelf that other people have suggested, not just taking problems off the shelf that other people have suggested, but thinking critically and carefully about what we're trying to do in educational research. So that's my introduction to my video channel. It's David Turner Does Educational Research. It's got three main purposes, and it uses a technology that it's borrowed from elsewhere. Welcome to my channel, and I hope you enjoy it and get something out of it.